So, in the video for this week's reaction was Inside the Mind of a White-Collar Criminal. So, white-collar crime refers to a financially motivated nonviolent crime committed by business and government professions. It was first defined by sociologist Edwin Sutherland in 1939 as a crime committed by a person that was respectably in a high social status in the course of their occupation. And then white-collar crimes normally include like securities, fraud, embezzlement, corporate fraud, and then money laundering. So in the video, the person getting interviewed talked about his book, and he said in the book that he said one thing that stood out to which was we often think about the crime from the victim's perspective, not from the perpetrator. This was talking about corporate crime, and then he talked also about like how changing that perspective, like not always think about the victim, but like thinking about like why the perpetrator did what they did, and then like how the victim got involved with it. And then from the victim's standpoint can be one of the most traumatic parts of your life, and then thinking the perpetrator did this to harm you on purpose is normally not the case. And then thinking of white-collar crimes, you're not trying to intentionally harm the person. And then perpetrators just have no to little emotion to the crime, not doing anything harmful. And then in the 19th century, people didn't do crime in the business suit / criminal conduct. And then on December 27th of 1939 is when Edwin Sutherland, generally there wasn't this moral out of range. And then in the mid-20th century, there was a price fixing scandal, and it was during the 1960s, and there was a couple executives from several like leading companies like GM, Weston. They were placed in jail by Attorney General Kennedy for a couple months. And then in the video they also talked about like two things that were interesting about that case. Was the defense argued why his client should go to jail, and then because you don't lock up an executive where there are pimps and prostitutes, the defense said. And then they spent 3 months in prison, but after they got out, the companies hired the men back because they are good guys and leaders of their country clubs and like around their towns. So then in 1960, 70% of the students said they would not have fired these people from coming back from prison. And then there was a big shift that was like, but then like nowadays, like the people in the crowd, they would definitely have fired the people because like you don't want that with your business, like all of that, like it's just not good. And then Gary Becker had a theory of crime. So crime could be thought as a rational act, but the person who commits the crime, which is an important component, is people behave in a way that is welfare maximizing of how they perceive it. And then 2 ways you get people behaving ways that they aren't welfare maximizing is one, that they don't do the actual calculations that Gary Becker did and others created the models. And then second one would be they do some of it and their expectations are wrong perception about what would be welfare maximum, and they're misguided. And then we talked about Scott London's case, which was a senior partner of KPG in the firm's Western, which was in the United States. He had 550 employees and 50 partners under him. He was doing well. He was making $900,000 a year. He gave business information to an old friend about his business to help and like give him stress release, and he was proud about it and what needed help, and like he never thought like it would backfire like this. So he was in the Starbucks parking lot, and like there's video cameras, and he was handing his friend money, and then like that's where like they jumped, like that's where he got in trouble with. So how often do these people think about going to jail? Like when they're talking about like their business to people, like they don't really think like, oh, like if I talk to my friend about this, like I'm gonna go to jail. Like they just think like they're getting help. People don't perceive that even if they do something funky, that could put them in prison or jail. And then insider trading, which is an illegal practice of trading on the stock exchange to one's own advantage through having access to confidential information. So the FCC is pretty good at monitoring insider trading. They have all like the technology, and like they can tell like when the insider trading is occurring. And then they have the regulators. People lost their jobs and retirement accounts from the scandal that Scott London's had in his business. So the white-collar criminals were hard to determine. And then going to the jails/prisons to talk to the white-collar criminals, this is what the author of the book did. And the person interviewing him said he wasn't scared that the people there would steal his wallet, even though they have stole plenty of money. But putting money in these firms have taken more from you. Like, if you put money in some of these firms, like, they literally have taken thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from you, which really sucks because, like, almost every year, like, there's millions of dollars just being, like, lost because people put them in the wrong spot. And then they have the empathy test on the insider trading, which is part of your job is acquiring information aggressively. And then could be successful or civil criminal offense, whether legal or illegal, intended to have better information than someone else. And then you can't relate to the people on the other because it isn't an intellectual crime. You can't identify people on the other side. And the true victims of insider trading are not even the people who are trading with. The people who, if hadn't been for you, your trading were excluded, really abstract, or who no one relates to. So, like, the people putting money into these businesses, they're not really, like, they're getting affected the most because, like, their money's getting taken and being put in the, like, wrong place. And then it's, like, a class exam trying to piece together how it got involved, like, try and piece together how, like, to get this question over. And then the moral is you can punch some. So, like, this is, like, the moral, like, thinking about, like, what is happening. So, like, empathy, you can punch someone in the face and you can harm them and, like, you can see the reaction, plus, like, you can feel the pain. But if you, like, engage in some kind of trading which steals thousands of dollars from someone who made that money down the road, it's hard to feel it because, like, you're not really getting affected, but, like, you're also, like, you're feeling what they're going through. So then